The highly anticipated Space Marine 2 has finally come out, and has become the most successful Warhammer game to date, the first week launching with 2 million players. This is quite a feat, thanks to excellent marketing and the interest in the Warhammer IP growing over the past few years. With the game out, there are plenty of things to enjoy, and things have improved overall from its prequel. The combat is more in-depth, and the new combo moves make the horde-based melee fighting more engaging. Co-op is a fantastic inclusion and makes the game fun with your friends.
Oh, check this out. He pulled an Ogren in Darktide.
The arsenal has decreased, but all the weapons feel a lot better, and there doesn't seem to be any weapons that get pushed aside as being useless or not as effective. The PvP, despite having only 3 game modes and 3 maps, is so much fun, and every class feels really good to play. They all have their strong suits and weaknesses that can be explored. However, while the game is a fun package overall and has been well worth the $60 for me as a 40k fan, I have noticed many repeat issues that have been a pattern for every high-profile 40k game for a few years now. There is a good gameplay loop that keeps it engaging, but it runs thin after putting the hours in. And we inevitably go into the loop of having to wait for more updates and patches to balance weapons and content to drop to increase more variety. This has been a pattern for a while now. You look at titles like Darktide and Rogue Trader, other games that have engaging and fun gameplay that makes them stand out, but have all suffered issues with the launch having less content than expected or problems that needed to be patched. Darktide is a fun co-op shooter with engaging classes and builds that scratch the itch of having a 40k version of Vermintide, but it got repetitive quickly when we were playing the same missions over and over again. It did give us a bitchin' soundtrack though. Rogue Trader stood out as it was an RPG in the 40k universe, and now we could influence the world and the characters around us as our own playable characters. After the release of Baldur's Gate 3, people took an interest in this genre of games again. But unlike Baldur's Gate 3, the game doesn't have the same production quality, and while it does have voice acting, there's still a lot of reading for the player to do, and the combat, once again, got repetitive after a while, bogging down the pace for a lot of people. These 3 titles are the most high profile and sought after as they stood much more from the other games we were used to. But they also have high budgets and better marketing. No disrespect to Bolt Gun or Shoota's Blood and Teeth, but in comparison, these games are very small scale and, while fun, they are very clearly meant to be played once for quick enjoyment, and then you never really touch them again. But on top of that, we are finally getting more 40k games that are breaking out of the RTS genre. After Adeptus Mechanicus, developers with the 40k license quickly realized that the XCOM style of gameplay worked really well for the 40k universe, and thus, we got a lot of devs that were making Mechanicus, but different factions. Mechanicus, but Grey Knights. Mechanicus, but Space Marines. It got old quick, and devs were not taking any chances with the idea of this universe. And that's why Darktide, Rogue Trader, and Space Marine 2 have been doing so well in comparison, because these games are finally breaking that mold, finally showing variety that exists in the 40k universe, and what is possible for the mechanics shown. But every game has had a compromise or an issue that came with the territory. For the average person picking it up for the first time, that'll most likely be the breaking point for them. Still, for a 40k fan who is used to getting products like these, the issues are a far cry from what we are used to, and at the end of the day, faithful 40k content with this level of detail and polish is rare. To start with the obvious issue, the bugs and crashes that happen in these games at launch is incredibly infuriating, and I'm not talking about the NIDs in this case. Now, this isn't just something that's restricted to 40k games, it's a common problem for a lot of devs, and someone really needs to figure out what the fuck is going on, because this shit's getting old. I understand that's hard to determine how many people are going to be playing a game at once at launch, and it's impossible to go over every inch of a game to make sure nothing is broken. But regardless, the game should be in a state where you can handle the traffic and play properly, because it's getting annoying to have to deal with these issues until a patch finally comes in and fixes the bugs, or the servers can account for the amount of people playing the game. But even disregarding the bugs, the other issue that persists is the amount of content that can be found within them. And this results in the same conclusion of just having to wait. Darktide was fun when you first played it. It was fun to level up, unlock new weapons, and go through the new missions. But once you got max level with every class, found the best weapons, mastered every mission, there was little reason to keep going. And this was true of the cosmetics as well, as the ones that were achievable in the game were relatively low. And they save all the good shit behind a paywall. And what sucks about the cosmetics in the OG game is that they were really just upgrades from the clothes rather than being different cosmetic sets. And Space Marine 2 looks to have the same issue, but it's not as bad. But this was how Darktide was in the first few months. If you go into the game today, there's still a decent community that still plays it, with new craftable weapons, in-game cosmetics, a refined stat and perk system, and way more missions from before. Darktide, after 2 years, in my opinion, is in the best state it's ever been in. Which is more than what I can say about other co-op games. If you were to play this game with friends, it would be a fun time. Likewise for Rogue Trader. The release of the new DLC is looking very promising and looks to extend the game to more interesting heights, with various patches fixing issues with bugs and glitches. And now it seems that Space Marine 2 with the roadmap has a lot of things to be excited about as well. New cosmetics, game modes, PvE missions, PvP arenas and horde modes, etc. But it's also kind of annoying because with another delay we could have gotten at least one of these game modes at launch and have even more stuff to do in the game right now. But alas, we have to deal with what we have for right now. What sucks is that that's not even really surprising anymore. People are upset but are more forgiving to it as we are used to this type of content drop. But at the same time, we can forgive it as the price was still $60 as opposed to the new $70 price tag. And there's still a decent amount to do with your time in this game without the roadmap. And given enough time, Space Marine 2 will surely be looking even better. I mean shit, it's not like these games are bad. They are all really good. At their core, they are all really good, fun games. But the core is all they really have. At the end of the day, 40k games are middle market niche genres that are tailored towards specific players rather than a vast majority of players, much like how the tabletop is. And while you could argue Space Marine is the exception to that rule, it still encapsulates the lore to someone who is a fan of the universe, and the gameplay loop stays relatively the same throughout the campaign. But the ultimate question that I made this whole video on was this: are 40k video games getting better? And the simple answer is yes. The games have only gotten better with the budgets, spectacle, and core gameplay. We have come a long way from Fire Warrior, and Adeptus Mechanicus now stands alongside these games as classics rather than above them. And that's without mentioning some of the smaller scale games like Bolt Gun that have been a massive influence on the community, with the character and memes it spawned. But while these games are continuing to get better with each one that is released, there is still improvement that can be made. Every year, we keep on getting new 40k experiences. We are breaking out and showcasing this universe in a variety of ways, and GW is continuing to do so with the companies they are partnering with. It just sucks that we have to deal with these hurdles so often, because it's just getting old. But at the end of the day, you know what I did after beating Space Marine 2? Besides getting mad at this son of a bitch still being around?
Moment. I will show no mercy.
You motherfucker! I swear to fucking... I brought out my great pile of shame, and I started painting again. And hey, that's what Warhammer Media should do. Bring people into this world and the hobby. It's done it before, and it continues to do so. Warhammer and the Warhammer community are very interesting. The company can be very infuriating sometimes. The community can be very fucking annoying sometimes. The lore is full of retcons and inconsistencies. There are some things that are really cool about it, there are some things that are really bad about it, there are some things that are very epic, and some things that are very dumb. But you know what? We're just painting a bunch of minis. So, let's just have fun with it.